Dirtle Magic. Hello and welcome back. You can follow our post on Twitter and Facebook at DirtleMTG to stay up to date on our latest videos and other posts, and you can join a more robust discussion about Casual Commander at our blog, thedicebag.blog. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content to help the channel and the blog grow. Another way you can support the channel, though, is through our affiliate links in the description below. If you're looking for single sealed product or gaming accessories to protect all of that glory, please consider clicking the links in the description. Now, grab some spells, it's time to dirtle. We return to Kessig today to find and finish the video series for Halana and Alena Huntresses, because just partners sounds bad in my opinion. The others exploring the wilds today are the Grand Warlord Radha and Pako and Haldan. I win the die roll and draw a Temple of the False God. I drop a Spire Garden and pass. Arcadie's turn sees no play. Radha plays a Forest. The partner player drops a Temple of Mystery, scrying themselves one card. My turn rolls back, and I find a Beast Within. I drop a Mountain, and Arcadie's leaves the game. Radha plays a Command Tower and passes. A Mountain comes down for the partner player. I draw Pier's Whim and drop a Forest. I cast Jukin Defends the Temple, and when it enters, it creates a 1/1 mana monk. To Radha, and they drop a Mountain. They cast Shaman of the Forgotten Ways. To the partner player, and a Forest comes down. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, then hits the board, and they draw a card, gain 3 life, and are able to play an additional land. The Titan is also sacrificed to its ability. My turn gives me a trigger on the Saga, and I add a 1/1 counter to the Mana Monk, and draw a Walking Skyscraper. Not wanting to waste a land drop, I play the Temple of the False God. I cast Krenko, and move to combat. I swing the Monk into the Pako and Haldan player, dealing 2 damage. Another Mountain into play for Radha, and they cast their commander, the Grand Warlord, probably of Keld. She has haste, and they go to combat, swinging the commander at me and the Shaman at the partner player. Radha also triggers for some mana, and I decide not to block. Damage is good, and I drop to 37 while going up to 3 commander, and the partner player goes down to 39. A Forest into play for Pako and Haldan on their turn. They cast Cultivate, putting an island into play tapped. They also suspend a Search for Tomorrow with their last mana, and pass the turn. On my turn, my Saga flips over into the Remnant of the Rising Star, and I draw Nyla, God of the Hunt. I cast my commander, the Huntresses, thanks to the help from the Mana Monk, and move to combat. When I do, my commander triggers, and I give 2 1/1 counters to Krenko. I then swing with the Mobster on 10th Street into the Radha player, and he triggers to make 4 1/1 Red Goblin tokens. Remnant triggers for each one, which on Magic Online is going to get old real quick. Radha takes 4, going down to 36. Radha's turn sees the rise of Xanagos, God of Revels. Luckily, he doesn't give Trample. They move to combat, giving Radha the God's Blessing, and they swing with their commander into me. I jump with a Goblin, and no damage gets through. Back to the partner player, and Search for Tomorrow loses a time counter. A Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, enters, and I'm thankful that mountains don't yet have their own Urborg. Watch Red get shafted on that cycle though, you know it will happen. Anyway, Pako the Good Boy is cast without a need to search for his friend. 2 attacks, and the Pupper swings into the Radha player, and triggering to exile the top cards of everyone's deck. Damage is good for 3, and the exiled cards are Whisperer of the Wilds, Eternal Witness, and Oracle of Moldiah. The path forward becomes clear to me on my turn with a Pathbreaker Ibex, Mightiest of the Goats. I cast Pier's Whim, and choose Foe for my opponents and Friend for me. I grab a Forest from my deck, and Xanagos is whimmed away. To combat, I give Krenko more counters to aid in his recruitment. I swing Krenko, the Remnant, and 1 Goblin into the partner player, and 1 Goblin into Radha for good measure. Krenko recruits 6 new Goblin friends, and the Remnant triggers again. And I have to do a lot of clicking. Reminds me of why I don't use Life from the Loam online anymore. Damage is good, and Radha is knocked down 1 to 32, and the partner player to 29. To Radha, and they begin the turn with casting Natural Order, sacrificing the Shaman to tutor up a Worldspine Worm. They pass afterward. Search for Tomorrow loses its last time counter at the start of the partner player's turn, and they cast it from exile to grab a mountain from their deck into play untapped. Morog, the Fury of Akum, enters the battlefield, and I don't much care for it. They pass on the attacks for now, but in the second main phase, they drop a Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Every land is now a forest in addition to any other types they have. They get an extra attack phase thanks to Morog, but they decline to attack again. My turn brings me a Rhythm of the Wild. I cast Beast Within on Morog, and he is destroyed. I go to combat and put counters this time on the Remnant to spread the modifications around. I assign Krenko into Pako and Haldan, and Krenko makes 8 more Goblin Buddies. Remnant also triggers. The partner player blocks with the Beast token and takes no damage. In the second main phase, I cast Nyla, God of the Hunt, and pass. Over to Radha, and they immediately go to combat. Radha swings toward the partner player, and the Worldspine Worm is assigned to my face. I assign more goblins than I need to block because I've miscounted before. In response to the blocks, the Radha player casts Heroic Intervention, keeping the worm alive. 15 of my goblins get gobbled up, and apparently I blocked with 17 of them, so good for the survivors. The partner player takes 3 from Radha, going down to 26. In the second main, Radha casts Relentless Assault, and moves to their next combat, and I'm feeling left out with all the extra combats floating around. The assignments are the same as last time, and I decide not to block to have enough creatures to swarm with Pathbreaker Ibex later in the game. I take 15 and drop to 22, while the partner player drops to 23. In the third main phase, Kendra Charioteer hits the field, and their creatures gain a Static Trample ability. 2 Pako and Haldan, and they play a forest. Pako trots on over to Radha in the combat phase, and they exile a forest, Kodoma of the West Tree, and Rogue's Passage off the top of decks. Radha takes 5, going down to 27, and up to 8 commander. In the second main, Rishkar's Expertise is cast, drawing the partner player 5 cards and letting them cast Insight for free from their hand. Klothys, God of Destiny, then enters the battlefield, and they pass. Speaking of though, I covered Klothys earlier on this channel, and the ending of that game is something fun to watch. I'll link it below in the description if you want to check it out. My turn brings me a Timeless Witness. I cast Rhythm of the Wilds, and Insight triggers to draw the partner player a card since I cast a green spell. I move to attacks and put 2 1/1 counters on a Goblin token. I swing with Krenko into the partner player, and he triggers for 9 more goblins. Trigger, trigger, click, click. The partner player takes 9, going down to 14. In the second main, I cast a cost reduced by modifications, Walking Skyscraper, which I give a 1/1 counter to with the Rhythm. 2 Radha, and Brawn appears on the stack, and the partner player draws a card from the Insight. They go to combat, and only the Worm is attacking. It's at me, and I assign Remnant and Skyscraper, who are both 9/9s, to block it. They trade with the Remnant, and when the Worm dies, it creates 3 5/5 Worm tokens. Klothys, God of Destiny, triggers for the Pako and Haldan player, and they exile Beast Within from my graveyard, dealing 2 damage to their opponents and gaining 2 life. The player then casts Omnath, Locust of Rage. They then drop a Taiga, and it triggers the Elemental to make another Elemental, which is 5/5 and red and green. An Adventurous Fertile Footsteps is cast, and they grab a mountain from their deck into play. This triggers Omnath again to create another 5/5 Elemental. They go to combat, and Pako is assigned to swing into me, and they exile a mountain, Eureka Moment, and Auron Frostfang off the top of decks. I chump block with a Goblin token, and receive no damage. On my turn, I get an Acidic Slime, but I have other plans. I cast the Pathbreaker Ibex, and Insight triggers. Once the Mightiest of all Goats is in play, I give it haste with the Rhythm, and head to combat. The Huntress's trigger, and I give 2 counters to the Ibex because, why not? I swing, and Krenko makes another 19 goblins. With easily enough trample damage to each opponent to knock them out, I win the game. Good game to my opponents. I've been neglecting the third game for Halana and Alena for some time. The deck always seemed to luck into a win, and while this time it seemed much better, and I have since added a slew of new cards, it still feels like I lucked into it a bit. I don't know, you can let me know your opinions in the comments below, but that's the feeling I get with it. It also feels really similar to Chishiro from Kamigawa, though the means to the victory are slightly different. On the bright side, you get to pick your pleasure between the 2 commanders. Thank you for tuning in to another casual commander game here on Dirtle Magic. Until next time, stay safe out there.